Yo, what's going on, guys? DMP back with another trade recap. Today, we're going to go over the trade I took today to secure about 2.6K across 5 150Ks. So let's get straight into it. So let's start off on our higher time frame. Today on the 4 hour, there was really nothing to see besides, just seeing this dump here throughout, these lows and tapping into these 4 hour imbalances here. So we'll go ahead and mark out this gap here that I saw us holding into the overnight. So we have this 4 hour gap here overnight. I'm seeing this move and I'm seeing coming into the market today. We're around this area here. And, basically what I wanted to see is, just us to start trending bullish into this NWOG. So you guys can see this void that we have. It's about, a 200 point void, 209 points here. And this is the NWOG. So, you can see prices, ultimately trending up towards this NWOG. And, that's kind of where I want to see price go for this week. That would be my, weekly objective as of right now. And so, yeah, basically, I know a lot of people were probably short biased based on this hourly right here on ES. We had a 4 hour aligned with this hourly, but, I was completely bullish. So we'll get straight into what I saw coming into the market this morning. So coming onto a 5 minute time frame, I did see that we had this bearish 5 minute gap pre-market that we were holding. So as you can see, mark that out. And basically, this is kind of, what I use as my condition coming into the market. Ideally, I wanted to see us inverse this gap, into this close and then, rip higher off the open into London, which is, kind of what we did. But unfortunately, we didn't get the inversion here. I still believe that we were going to go higher because this is a very strong candle close. And then I believe at this point here, we did have, some form of SMTs, I believe, in this area. And then on top of that, we had SMT with ES, at this area in this 4 hour gap. So we did have higher time frame SMT. So, that was kind of where a lot of my bullish bias came from. And then pre-market, once I started to see, this happen, then I was willing to long. So today was a very simple trade. There's really not a lot to talk about because it was very straightforward. So, we'll talk about it here. So as you can see here, this is that 5 minute bearish gap that I had marked out. And we could see we had, this is that strong move up. So at this point here, I'm wanting to see, these pre-market highs, which we had ended up taking right off 930 and then ultimately London. So after taking these pre-market highs, we did start to react a little bit bearish, but ultimately I kind of believed, if we actually want to go lower, either ES or NQ should rebalance into one of the higher time frame gaps to do so. And in this case here, when we swept out the pre-market highs, we hadn't tapped any of the high time frame gaps. So I believed that we were just going to retrace and ultimately go for London, which is what we did. And then down here we had, this smaller 1 minute gap and then this bigger 1 minute gap. So I just, combined the two and just use this whole area as an imbalance. So I saw price, come down here at about 931, came down pretty strong. And I basically wanted to see, how we are going to react inside of this level. So on this 932 candle, we had a nice strong flip. Initially, I entered this mid candle, and we had a nice close initially. You could see it ultimately ended up closing bearish. But I basically took the reaction out of this 1 minute upwards into, London. This is the nearest term draw, very clear draw on liquidity. So, the market at this point with this hourly gap aligned, I'm assuming the market to, at the very least, make a move up to this level. So you can see here on the next candle, we got a super strong push and I set my break even at this, pretty much this high of day, 930 high is where I went break even. So on this candle here, as we came up, I moved stops to break even, took off a risk. And then the next candle printed straight to my TP, which ended up being, pretty much the perfect TP. Ultimately, this would have got break even if I looked to hold any higher. And yeah, I mean, this is a clean trade, about 2.5 minutes. And just, my textbook bread and butter continuation, simply seeing a strong move towards a draw, seeing a retrace down with another strong move following it, and, just taking it, slamming it. I put 2 minis on this for about 1.3 R. You're going to notice a lot of my trades are going to be lower RR. I used to trade 3R and 4R reversals earlier in 2025. And then I moved over to continuations just because, personally, I like having a higher win rate. And it's been working out for me. So yeah, I mean, this is my textbook continuation right here. Really wasn't, too hard of a day to analyze. The only thing that would have stopped you would have been this hourly gap. But understanding, we took out a lot of liquidity on this move down, tap into a 4 hour. We're seeing this super strong move up overnight, leading into the market open. I think it's fair enough to have been bullish on the day. So yeah, that pretty much breaks down the trade I took. Pretty simple, straightforward. Nothing complicated, and that's kind of my main goal when I make these recaps and any other future videos I make for you guys. The main goal is just to show you how simplified my trading truly is. I'm sure you guys are gonna learn continuations very easily just through my trade recaps, and I personally learned a lot of my trading through recaps as I'm completely self-taught, so I don't have a mentor of any sort. I kind of just used to go through YouTube and watch a whole lot of different recaps, and then molded my own kind of trading style, and that's what it is today. So but yeah, I mean, that pretty much breaks it down. Very simple. All I saw was manipulation down off the open into this 1 minute. Nice displacement off of it to enter midway, and then just held towards London and into this hourly. The only other thing I would touch up on is the reason that I targeted 50% of the hourly gap instead of just targeting the London high is just due to the risk to reward purposes. So you could see here, if I would have just targeted London, risk to reward here would have been only a 0.86. So I just went ahead and targeted CE and, expected us to be somewhat strong. And that ended up being a good target to take. I'll go ahead and turn my executions on, just to show that was the only trade I took on the day. So as you can see here, that was the only trade of the day that I took. Two minis here at 277, as you can see, and then held to 343, as you can see here, CE of this hourly. So about a 70-point trade, close to 70-point trade, very solid. But yeah, that's going to be it for the recap. As always, if you guys have any content that you want to see on the channel, do be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Also, be sure to drop a sub, drop a like. I'm pretty new to this, but I do want to, drop as much sauce and value as I can for you guys. Pretty much my main priority this year is, getting into, proper mentoring and not, the typical mentoring that you guys are used to, but actually giving you guys, authentic mentorship and actually getting you guys results. So we're going to try and work on that. But yeah, that's it for the recap, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.